Justin Jefferson talks about how he dreams of the opportunity to win a gold medal now that the NFL players will be able to participate in flag football in the 2028 Olympics. Key, how many gold medals would you have won if there was flag football in the Olympics?
Probably 2. I'm in 96 for sure. I'm getting the Kristen Leitner treatment just off the top because I was the #1 pick, so they're going to put me in. And then...
Just make everybody...
You're going to get any run?
I probably would get some run, but the field was thick, though. You had Jerry Rice's and Chris Carter's and Michael Irvin's, but they did just...
Randy Moss?
No, Moss was after me. 04, I would have got in on 04, and that would have been it. It was a wrap. I'd have been like, I'm done.
Yeah.
2 medals.
Solid.
I wish that would have been the case, because I'd have loved to have done that. Being able to travel, well, even though it's here in the United States this year, but I would have been able to travel wherever it was back then. It would have been fun.
Yeah, the Olympics are incredible. It's really cool that it's in.
I would have been, man, I'm hyped for it now, and I'm not in it. Trying to figure out if I should.
You think they could drop a few LBs and get it going again?
I'm trying to figure out what other countries would I like.
What did I say?
No, I do need to drop a few LBs to get back out there.
We're in the green room together.
You know who's going to be tough in this competition? I just thought about it, Australia. Because, you know, they big on rugby. Yeah.
It is flag football, though.
Yeah, but it's like nobody has a professional NFL team.
Man, you'll be shocked, though.
In other countries like that. You know, like professional
United States is winning.
But you'll be shocked, though, Paul. It's some dudes. There's going to be some dudes that's got some stuff that we're not even thinking about. That might be soccer players that we're not even really thinking about.
Bring Usain Bolt out.
Yeah. They don't need Usain Bolt. They got some other dudes that can pick them up and put them down.
They're going to bring Usain Bolt.
You know that. And there's some American players.
Ain't it Usain?
And there's going to be some players from over here that play in the NFL that we're not even thinking about that's aligned to some other countries.
Yeah.
Too. Watch what I tell you.
Right.
Not enough, though.
This is going to be fun to watch.
I can't wait to watch Usain Bolt. Rick.
Hussein?
Yesterday we did a flag.
Hussein?
We all same.
We're not having serious. Who do you think has the best team? Okay, we're gonna display we did our drafts yesterday. If you didn't see it, it's on our social media.
Ooh, that blue team looking cracking.
Well, I have to say that Key came out of the gate really strong with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, but then he took a hard...
How? Where?
Patrick Surtain? Like, what?
Because I can put him on defense. He's he's athletic. That's what y'all don't seem to understand. And he can catch, and he played both positions growing up.
Yeah, so does Travis Hunter.
I mean, my team is the best team.
No.
It is.
What?
I can't even see that.
What?
Yeah,
no,
I think
first of all, you got a running back.
It's definitely time for glasses.
Who uses a running back at 7-on-7 or passing league?
No. See, here's the thing. It's a pass-catching running back.
Yeah, right.
And you need athletes across the board who are going to not only be able to catch and receive in different ways and run, but also you got to cover.
Jaden Daniels is the most accurate running quarterback, dual threat quarterback in the league. Tyreek Hill goes without saying.
But you asked him about the team.
I mean,
you want to try to.
He's a great team. He's a great team. If you can read, I clearly have the best team.
Joy clearly put in the most time and thought
I was a great
building her
Carlene
team.
assisted me. I did research.
So Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, clearly in most people's eyes, at 1-2-2-1, whatever you want to say in the National Football League. Then I got a Lad McConkey who does not drop anything.
All right.
And he's going to get open.
And he's not going to guard. He's not going to cover anybody.
Lad McConkey, if you don't come on this show, okay, I'm gonna take it personally as disrespect. Because Keyshawn loves some Lad McConkey. It is time.
Man,
Lad McConkey can
Come
go.
on down. It's just down the street. All right.
He can go though.
No, he can.
I love how we just completely dismissed Paul's team.
Paul's team is not gonna.
Well, when you pick
Saquon Barkley, we're not running the football.
It's flat.
Decaf Metcalf.
And Saquon has great hands.
Hey, listen, I currently have a son that's in flag football, and running game is essential in flag.
What you gonna run a draw?
No, we're gonna owe it to you. Gotta catch the flag. You gotta catch him.
And listen, you do have the league MVP Key as your quarterback, but he's got to put some people in a blender.
Yep.
No, he can't. He's big, he's fast.
No, you can't run people over.
Tackling
you can't run over. But you need to be able to evade.
He's big.
I almost picked Kyler Murray.
You know how hard it is to grab his flag, being that big? It's hard to grab his flag. It's hard.
Because what are you talking about?
Hard, trust me.
Why is it hard?
I play flag football, it's hard.
Paul's struggling through that one.
Yeah, but Paul, grow up. Whoa. Back to basketball because it's time for our top story of the day.
I'm glad I won. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rick. I won.
Yes.
Paul, do you agree with LeBron James that your Celtics got bored?
I do to a certain degree. I think, this year, especially as compared to last year, because they were like, look, we let one go a couple years ago when they lost in the championship to Golden State. Now, you win a title. And in convincing fashion, too. I mean, they are one of the great teams in NBA history by point differential, record-wise, and just pretty much blew out teams. But the thing is, this year, what I saw, and the reason they had a lot of teams come back, because they showed some tendencies like this in the regular seasons where they got up big and teams came back and beat them. I just think before they kept their foot on the gas because they were hungry to win. And now that they won, it just seems like they'll punch you, but they gotta have to understand that teams are gonna punch back. And they think that first couple punches is enough because they got out on a lot of teams this year and to where they took big leads and a lot of teams came back. And I can see at some point just saying, hey, listen, dog, this got to get to the point where these teams gonna take your punch. And whereas before they didn't. You knock them right out. But they taking punches now and they feel like they got complacent with it. More so than bored. Like, probably more complacent than bored, I would say.
I mean, it's really hard to repeat.
It is hard to repeat. We haven't had a repeat champion since the Golden State Warriors. You're going to get everybody's best every single night, and that's the part. And I think, just like them losing this year in the second round to the Knicks, I think it'll be a wake-up call if they're going to continue to be a contender to understand what's it going to take to get back to that point.
The crazy thing is first of all, I do agree with LeBron. I think he was watching our show yesterday when I brought that up. But I when you start thinking of complacency versus boredom, it's essentially the same thing to me. Because if you come into the season and your eyes is on the prize to repeat, and that's what you want to do, you want to repeat, and your whole focus is on repeating, you're going to put yourself in a good position because you know there are people gunning for you. Paul and them didn't repeat, right, Paul, because y'all got hurt. Injuries. That's the excuse for them at that time. But when you look at it, and then in 2010, they wound up just losing to the Lakers. But when you look at it, though, if they just would have stayed focused and not gotten bored, because they, like Paul said, they had these leads throughout the regular season. They even had leads in the postseason that they squandered because for whatever reason, they said, okay, well, we good. We up by 20. We going to coast our way instead of going up by 35 and saying to themselves, we ain't taking no chances on any of these teams coming back to get us, because if they had their eye on the prize to repeat, you would have been hearing it a lot. Oh, we want to repeat. You didn't really hear that coming out of Boston at all throughout the season or even at the end of the season. Think about the teams that repeat. They always talk about, oh, we want to repeat. We're going to repeat, double-peat, triple-peat. They get that all the way. We're gonna clone the saying. Nobody else can do it. The Celtics never said that not once. Because almost like they were just happy winning last year, like one was just enough.
Ooh. Now, what also, too, I noticed, I feel like roles changed, too. I think, as when you win, and I noticed that with our team, like, other players want to take on more, and then other players take on less when, hey, no, we won like this. Let's see if this can work again. As you notice, like, and there's nothing wrong with that as you get better. Like, you got Peyton Pritchard, had more of an extended role. But you had Drew Holiday, seemed like he took a lesser role, because Drew was an essential.
Yep.
He was, like, when Drew got 14, he took less shots. You seen him off the ball a lot more, and I felt like Derek White's role expanded. So I think that played into a lot of why it was tough for them to repeat or get the number one seed, because as roles started, like Jalen and Jason's role was the same, but like as roles start changing, it kind of like tampers with the infrastructure to a certain degree, and that can cause something in the chemistry. And if they got to go back to say, hey, this is how we won, guys. Let's get back to the basics. Yep. And they showed the tendencies from a couple years ago on why they didn't win. they showed those tendencies this year on how they settled too much for the threes.
I don't know if they can get back to that, though, because to your point, I think you pointed it out. Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis were just such big pieces, parts of them winning last year. And those two essentially weren't available or playing at the same level this year. So I think there was some of that. But in the bigger picture, I believe it wasn't boredom. It was they got addicted. They got addicted to the three-point shot. That became the cure-all for them. And it was the thing that they went to. And they did it so well, and they did it more and better than anybody else, that was their answer. Even, up by 20, it comes back down. Yeah, but we can hit a couple threes. We can take it right back there. Like, it gave them a false sense of security. And the problem is that when you're not hitting threes and you're playing against a team, particularly in the postseason where the pace slows down a little bit and you're playing better defensive teams, and you have another team like the Knicks who can play in the mid-range, who are going to be physically tough, who are going to defend the three a little bit harder, like, it's a recipe for disaster. And so I think they need to get away from this idea that we're going to leading the league far and away in three-point attempts and three-point percentage and all of that is the answer to winning a championship. I think you have to be more diverse offensively to do that.
Yeah, they certainly relied on that, particularly in the postseason. I mean, I don't know how you get bored in a series when you go down 0-1. Like, that is that's the crazy part to me. I can see once you get knocked in game one and then you're kind of like shook a little bit, but that should be enough to wake you up. Because we've been talking about the Celtics since before the season started, and particularly in the Eastern Conference, and we're saying this now. Who's really scary? Yep. Well, as it turns out, everybody to the Celtics, because they didn't get out of the second round. Now, obviously, you lose Tatum, and that changes things. But up until that point, they were out of it anyway. So, I think they have to be more diverse offensively. But they didn't really seem like they had the sense of urgency of a team that is going to repeat, which is incredibly difficult to do. They just didn't have that energy.
No, they didn't have a sense of urgency, and it didn't feel like from the beginning that that's what I know they wanted to repeat, but it wasn't something that was on their mind.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, we happy with getting the one that we got.
Mm-hmm. Well, looking ahead into the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, New York has home court advantage against Indiana, and the Knicks are also favored to win this series and advance to the finals.
Ooh.
So, Paul, we know how you feel about the Knicks, but should they be favored over the Pacers?
I struggle with this one. I go back and forth. No, seriously, because listen, I see some things in this Indiana Pacer team, and I see why the Knicks, because you beat the defending champs. I get it. And when you look at the series, you probably got the two best players. When you start looking at who has the best player in the series, it's probably Jalen Brunson. If you just look as a whole, who's the second best player in the series? It's probably Cat, right? And so when you say that, the top two players in the whole series, and then the third best player is probably Halliburton. And then the fourth best player is probably Mikal Bridges or who would you say? Oh, Siakam. But then you say, all right, the Knicks got the five. But the thing is, I see the Knicks, they got depth, and they got dogs. They got a guy that can rally around, who inspires their play, and Halliburton, the most overrated player in the NBA, according to his peers. Doesn't look that way now, does it? But like I said, this is a great matchup, and it's New York. People are going to put the money towards New York, and that's why they're favored. But I just think that
So you think the Pacers should be favored?
I think the Pacers should be favored. They're well coached. They have a championship coach. They have depth. They've been here before to the conference finals. They've won in Madison Square Garden a year ago, and I know it's not the same team, but psychologically you can go in there and say, hey, we've been here before, fellas. We can win in this building and in this chaos. And I just think from top to bottom, they have a better roster overall, 1 through 10. I think New York has 5 guys. Yes, McBride, he gives you something here and there. And then the big fella off the bench,
Mitchell Robinson.
Mitchell Robinson, he's been a factor. But when you talk about 1 through 10, nobody that's left, maybe outside OKC.
Cameron Payne. Another one.
He's hit on
this. He gets some minutes.
He gets his minutes. But 1 through 10, Indiana is the deeper team of the two.
They should, but I think the Knicks should be favored for one of the things Paul said was they did beat the champs. And they came from behind. They did all the things. But when they took care of business, when they came back home to close things out in 6, that was something special. Now, look, Indy went in there last year, and it was a hobbled Knicks team. Let's be honest with ourselves. And they took care of business. They won the game. But they were hobbled. Jalen Brunson was playing on like a fractured ankle or something was wrong with him.
OG had an issue.
OG had an issue early. So it was like...
No Randall.
No Randall. This is a different structure of the team. They do have more depth because Tibbs will not go all the way into 10. He just, for whatever reason...
But he's playing more than he has.
No, yeah.
Like McBride's getting minutes, Mitchell's getting minutes.
He's playing more, but Mitchell was getting minutes a year ago. Wasn't like he wasn't getting minutes a year ago. He was still on the floor. So, but when you look at it, I just think that they won there before, but this feels different. It just feels like I've been saying the whole time, it feels different. It feels like it's New York's time. They hadn't won since 1973. That's been forever. That was like, what were you? Yeah, no, he was just covering. He was still.
Oh, he was covering.
Stop.
Oh, he was covering the ABA.
Stop.
The ABA. Oh, okay, that's when they merged. Okay, got it.
Right before the merger.
Should the Knicks be favored over the Pacers?
Yeah, I have the Knicks slightly as a slight favorite. And look, they have home court advantage. Let's start with that. I think they are more battle-tested. Detroit gave them a tough first-round series. They did have to knock off Boston, the defending champs. Indiana faced the Bucks.
And a Cavs team that we probably...
The Cavs team that was a better regular... Yeah, but a better regular season team and injured. Like
64-win team they beat.
They were missing 3 key guys, at least 1, if not 2 games.
1 game.
Right? All right. I believe the Pacers are vastly underrated for all of the reasons that you gave. And I think this is going to be a great series. But there's also the factor that Key brought up, which is the Knicks lost to these guys last year.
Yeah.
And they got a little something. They want some payback. In the same way that Paul was talking about OKC felt like they gave one away last year, I think the Knicks are looking at it like, hey,
they
didn't get the best of us last year. We need to change this.
Did Indy have home court last year? I don't remember. I feel like Indy had home court, huh? Over them last year.
I'm trying to think where that started. I think you're right.
I feel like it did.
I mean, I don't think it's a big deal that the Knicks are favorites. I mean, they have home court. They're not even that big of a favorite tonight. Like they're not huge favorites in the series. They are expecting a close series, which is what we are all predicting. That these are 2 very evenly matched teams. They both have a chip on their shoulder. They both play physical. They both have young, dynamic players. I agree with you, Paul. I think the top 2 players are on the Knicks, but how deep the Pacers go may end up being what the matchup is. But somebody's got to be favored. Yep. and I think it's fine that it's the Knicks. And the Pacers may take that as motivation. So
if the Knicks allow Indiana to go out there and play this type of music,
put me to sleep.
No, but they're looking like classical music to where they share the ball, backdoor, fast break, smooth.
I wasn't. He took me the long way, but we got there.
Now the Knicks got to come out here. Yeah, if they allow Indiana to come out here and play like this,
no, you know what?
They're gonna lose. The Knicks got to junk up the game.
I thought you were saying that if the Knicks let them play classical music in their arena.
No. The style of play. Like when I look at these 2 styles, one plays like it's a little more classical.
Yes,
like the Knicks is straight hip hop.
Yep. But it's not even the Pacers.
I got it made. Like the Knicks, you know what I'm saying? They gotta
put those steel-toed boots on. They gotta put those steel-toed boots back on.
You know what I'm saying? This gotta be a ball fight.
What do they do with those steel-toed boots?
What does the classical music sound like?
Oh, here's a backdoor, fast break. It's more smooth. This style of play is more classical. Where the Knicks is more hip hop and bar fight and you know what I'm saying?
Getting it in.
Tim's.
But they don't need to do
Black
that.
And Miles.
They don't need to do that. The Pacers. There's one guy they need to do that to, and that's Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah.
If he's not getting to the paint and
he's
scoring,
the conductor.
He is the conductor. They need to knock the conductor off the stand.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Now I do. It took us...
Great metaphor. Coming up.
Took us a minute.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.